reason you're calling for the empowerment of Parliament is so Parliament will be able, as one of the three arms of government, will be able to hold the government accountable. And you are also saying, if I heard you correctly, that although you were selected from an opposition party as the speaker for a hung Parliament, you've tried your best to ensure that you're balancing the equation, even sometimes against the party that nominated you. That's what you're saying?
Truly, and they all know it. And my colleagues in Parliament, they know it, both majority and minority. Without my intervention on many occasions, nothing from government will pass through Parliament.
Did you ever hear that they said sometimes you were tilting too much towards the governing MPP? How did that make you feel, if you ever heard that?
Well, I just take it that it's ignorance, because they don't understand, they don't appreciate the situation we are in. And so most of the time, if the speaker decides to go by just the numbers, on daily basis, you see the National Democratic Congress is always in majority on the floor, on daily basis. And if you have to take decision, then you see our colleagues trying to buy time to be able to call their members to come. If the speaker decides to push ahead and put the question, they will definitely lose. And at the last sitting, not this recall, you saw how they voted out the IDA facility of $250 million. They didn't have the numbers. This recall, there are a number of issues they could not take because they didn't have the numbers. The NDC members were at all times more than them.
So this recall eventually was irrelevant because they couldn't achieve what they wanted?
Well, we had, because of the national interest, to rescind the earlier decision and now approve the IDA facility of $250 million for the country in order to keep at least our economy afloat.
But I hear you also say that you've been able to handle this hung Parliament well. That's what you're saying?
Posterity will judge. And I can assure you there are records to show that what I have done, please, is worth commendable.
Is there a state capture in Ghana as being mentioned by some minority members of Parliament?
Well, let me say that Ghanaians generally are very good people, and they know what value is, what is right and what is wrong, and they know how to reward and commend people. And for this period, as you recall, a number of traditional areas have called and honored me with some titles. So I am Na, I'm Nana, I'm Togbe, you know.
Which one would you want us to refer you to?
Well, I'm all. You know, as a speaker, you present everybody. And that is what I've been doing for these years. I think that the people who talked about state capture have tried to produce evidence to support that. And there's strong evidence on the ground that there is really a process to have a complete state capture.
Do you believe those documents?
I have read some, and there's no reason why I don't believe in what I have read. And I have visited some of the areas and have seen there's enough evidence that there's strong state capture. And we really need to take action against some. There are some other areas that I disagree with those who talk about the state capture and some of the examples that they've mentioned. And so I often call them and try to discuss with them and to produce evidence to show that this is rather in the interest of the country. And I've done it a number of times to my friends, particularly the members of Parliament who appear on TV, radio to talk about these things. But there's strong evidence that there's state capture.
How has this affected us, our current state?
Well, the risk is very high. Our democracy is decaying, and we're getting back to autocracy, and we need to work together to turn things around. And some of us are there, we are prepared to support, not lead. At this position as a speaker, I will not risk the honor and value of the position to go contesting to be president of Ghana. No. You start from your party level. And primaries, if you lose, you devalued your position as speaker. That's why you don't see any speaker attempting
so
to
you will never attempt it?
No. This is enough honor. And this is enough opportunity to serve our people, you know. And I treasure that opportunity. And I'm extremely grateful to Ghanaians for this opportunity. We are a beloved country, loved by many. In fact, we are the mecca of the black race. They see Ghana as the place to go. All black people all over the world. And so forth, they want to see us really be the black star of Africa. Unfortunately, we now nosediving, and people are disappointed.
Would you say
so
that
we need to do a lot?
Would you say that the sale of Samsonite hotels could be one of the reasons you're convinced that there's state capture?
Actually, it looks like in the lexicon of some people, conflict of interest doesn't exist. When you decide to serve the people, it means you're taking away yourself from serving yourself, because there will be conflict of interest. And so when you decide to come into politics to serve the people, you have to move away from being a business person to serve your interest.
So it was wrong.
So it's very wrong. If we decide, if really institutions were working, some of these things, it calls on the Ghana Revenue Authority, the National Security, the other investigating bodies to probe further into the source of money from those people.
So this also talks about how we are managing our funds as a country.
Well, you know, that is the Waterloo of our development. You know, you have individuals that are richer than the country. And you now have people dealing with safe havens in islands. But the most hypocritical aspect of it is the international community.
What do you mean?
Well, those stolen funds and this, actually, they know where they are. Are they supporting us to bring it? In the case of Nigeria, they struggle to get them to release the money. They have developed instruments